The monsoon rain hammered against the ancient stone walls of Aarav's ancestral Haveli, each drop a relentless reminder of the night his life fractured. 5 years. 5 years since Meera vanished from their secluded cottage nestled amidst the sprawling tea estates of Assam. Vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the lingering scent of her jasmine perfume and a silence that clawed at his soul. Aarav, once a celebrated wildlife photographer, had become a ghost in his own home. The vibrant colors he used to capture through his lens had bled into a monochrome existence, mirroring the gray landscape of his grief. The villagers whispered of malevolent spirits inhabiting the dense forests, of a Pisacini who preyed on young love. He had scoffed at their superstitions then, clinging to the hope of Meera's return. Now a cold dread had begun to seep into his bones, a feeling that the truth was far more terrifying than folklore. He traced the outline of Meera's smiling face in a dusty photograph, her eyes sparkling with the warmth of a love that felt like a distant dream. They had envisioned a life here, surrounded by the emerald tapestry of the tea gardens, their laughter echoing through the valleys. But the laughter had been silenced, replaced by the mournful sigh of the wind. One particularly oppressive afternoon, as the rain showed no signs of relenting, a shrill cry pierced the heavy silence. It was Durga, their old family servant, her face ashen with terror. "Aarav, Baba! Come quickly. Something has been found near the old well." A knot of icy fear constricted Aarav's chest. The old well, shrouded in overgrown vines and shadowed by ancient banyan trees, was a place he had avoided since Meera's disappearance. It was the last place they had walked together, hand in hand, their future stretching before them like the endless rows of tea bushes. He followed Durga, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The other servants had gathered near the well, their faces illuminated by flickering lanterns, casting grotesque shadows that danced like macabre figures. A hushed anticipation hung in the air as Aarav approached. Lying precariously close to the well's moss-covered edge was a single, tarnished silver bangle, intricately etched with tiny bells. Aarav's breath hitched. It was Meera's. He had bought it for her during their trip to Guwahati, a symbol of their intertwined destinies. But it was coated in mud, and the faint, sickly sweet odor emanated from the well's depths. A collective gasp rippled through the small group. Fear and morbid curiosity mingled in their eyes. Durga placed a trembling hand on Aarav's arm. "It has been 5 years, Baba, perhaps." A wave of nausea washed over Aarav. His mind recoiled from the unspoken implication. Could Meera have fallen into the well? But she was always so careful. And why only the bangle? As the servants cautiously peered into the dark abyss of the well, their lanterns casting feeble beams into the murky water, a chilling discovery was made. Partially submerged, tangled in the roots that snaked down the well's sides, were strands of long black hair, Meera's hair. A strangled sob escaped Aarav's lips. The fragile tendrils of hope he had clung to for so long finally snapped. Meera was gone. But amidst the crushing grief, a flicker of cold determination ignited within him. This wasn't an accident. Meera wouldn't have simply fallen. Someone had taken her. Someone had plunged his world into this unending darkness. Days bled into weeks as Aarav became consumed by the enigma of Meera's fate. He scoured their cottage, their favorite walking trails, every corner of their shared life, searching for a forgotten clue, a whisper of the truth. He questioned the villagers, their tales of the Pisacini now sounding like convenient excuses. Their eyes holding a guarded reticence. Found an unexpected ally in Priya, Meera's childhood friend who managed the neighboring tea estate. Priya had always possessed a sharp intellect and a pragmatic mind. She had never believed in the supernatural explanations, her focus always on tangible realities. She remembered Meera mentioning a series of unsettling encounters with Vikram, the arrogant and possessive son of a powerful tea estate owner. Meera had dismissed his advances, but now, in the context of her tragic end, those encounters took on a sinister significance. Together, Aarav and Priya began to piece together the fragments of Meera's last days. They discovered that Vikram had been enraged by Meera's repeated rejections, his entitled ego bruised. He had been seen arguing with her near the old well just days before she vanished. Their investigation led them to an abandoned overseer's bungalow deep within the estate, a place Vikram was known to frequent in secret. A palpable sense of dread hung heavy in the air as they cautiously entered the decaying structure. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through broken windows, and the silence was broken only by the rustling of unseen creatures in the overgrown garden. In a hidden compartment behind a crumbling fireplace, they found it a small, intricately carved wooden box. Aarav's hand trembled as he opened it. Inside, nestled amongst faded letters and dried flowers, was a single blood-stained earring, Meera's favorite. And beneath it, a crumpled piece of paper with Vikram's distinctive handwriting, filled with obsessive and threatening words directed at Meera. The evidence was damning. Vikram's unwanted advances, the argument near the well, the earring, and the threatening note found in his secluded hideaway. It all pointed to his guilt. But Vikram had vanished shortly after Meera's disappearance, his influential father using his wealth and power to shield his son from any suspicion. Driven by a burning desire for justice, Aarav and Priya resolved to find Vikram. Their search led them to a sprawling mansion in Kolkata, a world away from the tranquil tea gardens. The stark contrast between Vikram's opulent life and the haunting memory of Meera fueled Aarav's simmering rage. The confrontation was explosive. Vikram, arrogant and dismissive, initially denied any involvement. But when Priya presented the earring and read aloud excerpts from his threatening note, his carefully constructed facade crumbled. Cornered and exposed, he confessed to his heinous act, his words dripping with a chilling lack of remorse. In a fit of jealous rage, he had confronted Meera at the old well, and when she had refused him one last time, he had pushed her into the darkness. Panicked, he had fled, relying on his father's influence to cover his tracks. The confession was a brutal confirmation of Aarav's deepest fears. The pain of Meera's loss was now intertwined with the bitter taste of betrayal and the horrifying image of her final moments. Justice, however, seemed a distant dream, overshadowed by Vikram's family's formidable power. One stormy night, as Aarav stood by the overgrown well, a profound sense of despair washed over him. Had he fought so hard, endured so much, only to see Meera's killer escape the consequences of his actions? He closed his eyes, the relentless rain mirroring the tears streaming down his face, and whispered a desperate plea to the wind. "Meera, if you can hear me, please show me a way." Suddenly, the wind howled with renewed ferocity, swirling around the well in a violent vortex. The rain lashed down with an almost supernatural intensity. And then, from the dark depths of the well, a faint ethereal glow began to emanate. Aarav's eyes snapped open, his heart pounding in his chest. The glow intensified, taking on a soft, luminescent form. It shimmered and coalesced, slowly taking the shape of a woman. Aarav gasped. His breath caught in his throat. Standing before him, bathed in an otherworldly light that pierced the darkness, was Meera. Her form was translucent, her eyes filled with a gentle sorrow, but there was an undeniable serenity about her that Aarav had never witnessed in life. She reached out a spectral hand, and as her fingers brushed against his cheek, a wave of profound peace, of unconditional love that transcended the physical realm, washed over him. She couldn't speak, but her luminous gaze conveyed a message of comfort, of reassurance. She then turned her ethereal form towards the path leading away from the well, her eyes filled with an unspoken urgency. Aarav, though gripped by a primal fear and utter bewilderment, felt an irresistible pull to follow her. He stumbled after her spectral figure as she glided through the rain-soaked estate, the otherworldly glow illuminating their path. Meera led him through the dense tea bushes, past the silent workers' quarters, until they reached the edge of a steep ravine, a treacherous drop that local lore claimed was haunted. And then Aarav saw it. Caught precariously on a narrow, muddy ledge halfway down the ravine, his face contorted in terror, was Vikram. The heavy rains had caused a landslide, and he had been caught in the deluge. His desperate cries for help were swallowed by the roar of the storm. Meera's spectral gaze turned towards Aarav, her eyes filled with a profound understanding. It wasn't about vengeance. It was about the universe's intricate balance, about a justice that transcended human intervention. Aarav watched, a terrifying awe gripping his soul as the precarious ledge beneath Vikram's feet crumbled further. He felt a strange detachment, as if he were witnessing a scene from a nightmare. Just as Vikram was about to plummet into the abyss, a thick root, dislodged by the landslide, snaked down and snagged his flailing arm, halting his fall. He clung to it desperately, his screams echoing through the storm. And then, the miracle. A search party, alerted by Priya, who had followed Aarav and Meera's ethereal light, arrived just in time. They managed to pull a mud-caked and terrified Vikram from. The dawn broke over the Assam tea estates, painting the rolling hills in shades of emerald and gold. But for Aarav, the vibrant colors held a different hue now, tinged with the ethereal memory of Meera's spectral visit. The scent of jasmine, once a bittersweet reminder of his loss, now carried a whisper of something more, something beyond the realm of the living. The villagers, their initial fear replaced by awe, spoke of Meera's intervention with reverence. The old well, once a place of sorrow, became a site of hushed whispers and offerings of white jasmine. Durga, her eyes wide with wonder, claimed to have seen a faint, luminous mist hovering near the well on subsequent nights. Priya, ever the pragmatist, wrestled with the inexplicable events. Her scientific mind sought logical explanations, but the vivid image of Meera's ethereal form, the undeniable timing of Vikram's accident, defied any rational analysis. She looked at Aarav, a mixture of concern and fascination in her gaze. Aarav, did you truly see her? Or was it a trick of the light, the storm? Aarav met her gaze, a quiet certainty in his eyes. I saw her, Priya, as clearly as I see you now. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't the storm. It was Meera. The news of Vikram's miraculous rescue, coupled with his confession, sent shockwaves through the tea estate community and beyond. His powerful family's attempts to downplay the events were futile against the compelling narrative of a supernatural intervention. The trial that followed became a media frenzy, the courtroom packed with journalists and curious onlookers eager to witness the unfolding drama. Aarav's testimony was raw and poignant, his recounting of Meera's disappearance and the subsequent ethereal encounter leaving a profound impact on the jury. Even the most hardened skeptics couldn't entirely dismiss the strange twist of fate that had led to Vikram's capture. The defense argued coincidence, a series of unfortunate events amplified by the villagers' superstitious beliefs. But the blood-stained earring, Vikram's own terrified demeanor, and the sheer improbability of his survival painted a damning picture. As the legal proceedings unfolded, the whispers of the supernatural intensified. Tea pluckers reported seeing fleeting glimpses of a shimmering figure moving through the mist-laden gardens at dusk. Some claimed to hear the faint tinkling of silver bells, the sound of Meera's bangle carried on the night breeze. A young girl playing near the ravine where Vikram was found brought Priya a single, luminous white jasmine flower, identical to the one Aarav had described seeing near Meera's spectral form. It felt strangely cool to the touch and seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. Priya, despite her skepticism, carefully preserved the flower, a nagging sense of wonder growing within her. Aarav found a strange solace in revisiting the places he and Meera had shared. He would often sit by the old well, sketching in his notebook, feeling a sense of Meera's presence, a gentle warmth that defied the chill of the night. He felt a connection to her that transcended the physical, a sense that her spirit was still somehow intertwined with the land they had loved. One foggy morning, while photographing the mist-shrouded tea bushes, he heard it, a faint melodic hum, a tune Meera used to sing while they walked through the gardens. He stopped, his heart catching in his throat, scanning the swirling mist, but there was no one there. He tried to rationalize it, attributing it to the wind or his own longing, yet the melody lingered in the air, a hauntingly beautiful reminder of Meera's voice. Meanwhile, Vikram's trial reached its conclusion. The evidence, coupled with the undeniable strangeness of his rescue, proved insurmountable. He was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. Justice, in its earthly form, had finally been served. But the questions surrounding the supernatural events remained unanswered, hanging heavy in the air like the monsoon mist. Priya, her scientific curiosity now deeply intertwined with a personal quest to understand Meera's fate, delved deeper into the local folklore and paranormal accounts. She interviewed elderly villagers, meticulously recording their stories of spirits and unexplained occurrences in the tea estates. She consulted parapsychologists and spiritual mediums, seeking any logical or metaphysical explanation for the events. She learned about the concept of place memory, where intense emotional events can leave an imprint on a location, manifesting as sensory experiences. She explored theories of near-death experiences and the possibility of heightened spiritual awareness in moments of extreme trauma. Yet none of these theories fully explain the specificity of the occurrences. The luminous jasmine, the melody Meera used to hum, the distinct form Aarav had seen. One evening, Priya found Aarav sitting under the ancient banyan trees near the old well, gazing up at the star-dusted sky. A sense of quiet acceptance radiated from him. The villagers say the jasmine blooms out of season near the well now, Priya said softly, holding out the luminous flower she had found. Aarav smiled, a hint of peace in his eyes. Meera always loved jasmine. Perhaps it's her way of letting us know she's still here. Priya sat beside him, the cool night air carrying the faint scent of the flower. Do you think her spirit is still around, Aarav? He looked out at the sprawling tea gardens, bathed in the silvery moonlight. I don't know, Priya, but I feel her, not as a ghost, but as a presence, a love that death cannot extinguish. Months passed. The tea estates slowly returned to their rhythm. the overt whispers of the supernatural fading into the background of daily life. Aarav continued his photography, his work now imbued with a sense of resilience and a quiet understanding of the interconnectedness of life and loss. Priya continued her research, her initial skepticism evolving into a profound respect for the mysteries that lay beyond the realm of scientific explanation. 1 year after Vikram's conviction, on the anniversary of Meera's disappearance, Aarav and Priya returned to the old well. The area around it was now adorned with blooming white jasmine, their fragrance heavy in the air, even though it wasn't the flowering season. As they stood in silent remembrance, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the ancient banyan trees, and for a fleeting moment, they both heard it, a faint, sweet melody carried on the wind, a whisper of love that echoed through the tranquil tea gardens, a testament to a miracle that defied earthly understanding. The year that followed Vikram's imprisonment was marked by an unusual tranquility in the Assam tea estates, a fragile peace woven with threads of the unexplained. The overt fear surrounding Meera's disappearance had softened, replaced by a sense of wonder and a quiet acceptance of the extraordinary events that had transpired. The old well, once a symbol of tragedy, had become an almost sacred space, adorned with perpetually blooming white jasmine, their fragrance a constant, ethereal reminder. Priya's research into the local folklore deepened, leading her down intriguing paths. She discovered ancient legends of benevolent spirits tied to the land, protectors of love and justice. Tales of miraculous interventions in times of great sorrow were woven into the fabric of the region's history, stories often linked to specific locations. Ancient trees, sacred groves, and, surprisingly, wells believed to be portals to other realms. She learned of the Jasmine spirit of the gardens, a local legend of a young woman whose tragic love story echoed Meera's own. It was said that her spirit manifested through the scent and the unexpected blooming of jasmine, offering solace and sometimes intervening in matters of injustice. The parallels were uncanny, sending shivers down Priya's spine. Aarav, while not actively seeking answers in the supernatural, found himself increasingly attuned to the subtle energies of the estate. He often felt Meera's presence in the gentle rustling of the tea leaves, in the warmth of the sun on his skin, and the haunting melody that occasionally drifted on the breeze. His photography took on a new dimension, his lens capturing not just the visual beauty but also an underlying sense of the estate's spiritual essence. His portraits of the tea pluckers seemed to hold a deeper understanding, his landscapes an almost palpable connection to the land. The unusual phenomena continued, albeit subtly. Workers occasionally reported feeling a gentle, unseen touch, a comforting presence during moments of hardship. Some claimed to have dreamt of a woman with kind eyes and the scent of jasmine, offering words of encouragement or guidance. Children sometimes found luminous white jasmine flowers in unexpected places, even during the harshest winter months. One particularly dense, foggy morning, a tea plucker named Lakshmi slipped and fell near a steep embankment. As she tumbled downwards, she distinctly felt a pair of unseen hands gently guide her fall, preventing a serious injury. When she recounted her experience, the other workers nodded knowingly, attributing it to the, quote, benevolent spirit of the gardens. Priya, initially skeptical, found herself increasingly drawn into these accounts. She meticulously documented each incident, searching for any logical explanation, yet the consistency and the specific details, the jasmine, the gentle touch, the feeling of comfort, defied easy dismissal. Driven by a need to understand, Priya decided to explore the history of Aarav's ancestral Haveli and the land it stood upon. She delved into old family records, consulted with local historians, and unearthed a fascinating history. The Haveli had been built centuries ago, on a site considered sacred by the indigenous tribes, a place where the veil between the living and the departed was believed to be thin. She discovered that Aarav's ancestors had a deep respect for the spiritual traditions of the land, often incorporating local beliefs into their lives. There were even mentions of a family legend, a tale of a young woman who had died tragically and whose spirit was said to watch over the family and the estate, her presence often heralded by the scent of jasmine. The pieces began to fall into place, forming a picture that was both unsettling and strangely comforting. Could Meera's love, her tragic end, and the deep spiritual connection of the land have created something extraordinary? Aarav, too, had begun to delve into his family's history, spurred by Priya's discoveries. He found old journals detailing similar unexplained events throughout the generations, whispers of a benevolent presence associated with jasmine in moments of crisis. He started to see Meera's spectral visit not as a singular miracle, but as part of a larger, enduring connection between love, loss, and the spiritual essence of the land. One silent evening, Aarav and Priya found themselves drawn to the old well. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine, and the moonlight cast long, ethereal shadows. As they stood in quiet contemplation, A faint, shimmering light began to emanate from the well's depths, softer and more diffused than before. From the light, a gentle warmth spread outwards, enveloping them in a feeling of profound peace and unconditional love. The faint melody of Meera's song drifted on the breeze, clearer and more distinct than they had ever heard it. Neither of them spoke, their hearts